What's up, guys? Cringy intro time, because I need new things for my channel. But today, I'm going to be showing you how to build Belegarth weapons. So for those of you who don't know what Belegarth is, it is a foam sword game, or foam weapon game, I should say, that people come together for, hang out, have fun. You're not meant to get hurt in the game, you're meant to have fun and be a good sport about it. This one is mine, this one is my brother's. His isn't completely done and is a little bit ruined, where the foam comes off. But that's also good for this video, because I'm going to be teaching you not necessarily how to build it, a little bit of how to. I don't have a video showing you how to put it together. It's more of a, you have to look at it and I tell you what it is. So, first off, I'm going to tell you where I went and what supplies I got for the foam. Alright, so at Wilco, and this is all stuff that I got from Oregon, since I live there now. And so if you're in another state, then hopefully you can find this, or just order it from another state and get it to you. So first off is the fiberglass rod, which was about $11.99. It was 48 inches, and it was from Wilco in Salem, Oregon. So the fiberglass core would be about double this length. This is added stuff, which I'll tell you about later. But basically, if you double this to double, that's how long the core is. You can use that for long swords, and I'll have another video on the different weapons and how they look with pictures up on the screen and stuff. I don't even know how many videos of these I'm going to make. Just, I've been wanting to do this one for a while. So, you'd have the long one, or what we did was we cut it in half, which gets you 2 swords. If you wanted more than one sword, of course. Like I said, some Salem, Oregon. The core is one of the main parts of the weapon. You need to make sure this is padded up correctly and safely, or else it can be really, really bad and dangerous. And then I will have a picture of the core when I say it, somewhere around here, which, yeah. I will try my best to get that on. Don't know for sure if I will. Okay, next up is from Walmart in Salem, Oregon. First, what we got there was the foam, which is this. We got, it's right here. I'll put it up here somewhere, or maybe here. Depends where I feel like putting it. The foam sheet roll, 1/2 inch thick, for do-it-yourself projects. It was about $23.99 to $29.99 from where we got it. And it's a little bit harder to tell, but right here is 1, 2, and when you build it, you want about 6 to 7 layers of the foam. And I will say later on towards the end, near the end of the video, of how to put it together. Next up, I called it, which I'll put right here, the crimson colored fabric, which was $2.97 per yard. And that's what I did for my personal sword that I made, with help of course, but most of it, besides the gluing, was all me. I sewed it, all of it. So for 1 yard, like I said, it's $2.97. I got red, or crimson red as I found, and this is still from Walmart. So I'm sure any other Walmart, since it's a franchise, will have the same stuff. So this is just found in the arts and crafts section. And yeah, so I made mine to red, because red and black are my favorite colors. So, next up is DAP glue. It's a little bit tricky to find exact one, but it doesn't matter too much. But for $11.88 per 1 quart, You can get contact cement DAP glue, which will be up here somewhere. And that's the main stuff that we used to put this together. Yes, there is tape, but that's to help it, because if you look, some places it comes apart a little bit more, and it's just to help it in case the glue on the edges where it's hardest to keep it together doesn't stay together, then the glue or the tape's meant to hold the foam in place. And then next up, from True Value in Independence, Oregon, for $10.99, 100 feet, you get paracord. This one, which I'll put up right here, is camo paracord, which I have wrapped around. So when it comes to building the handle, you can use paracord, athletic tape, kinesio tape, pretty much any tape you want, anything for grip. Yeah, and then other things include tape, which you can pretty much find anywhere. It doesn't matter what tape you want. The sewing, the needle and thread, get that from any place you want. That shouldn't be too expensive either. Duct tape is not terrible, but not the best either, depending what type you get. I think I used here and here were both Gorilla Tape, so I think Gorilla Tape's a little bit more on the medium towards expensive side. And then another one is counterweight. You don't need counterweight, but it does help with the movement of your sword, because right here it used to be more balanced around here, but now it's more it's a little bit hard to find the balance point, but it is a little bit more balanced toward here. And for counterweight, I use some wire, and it's not that expensive. I don't remember what the wire is called, so I don't have it on. I think it was like $5-10 maybe. Not too expensive. You wrapped it around in one spot, which is why there's a big spot here, and that helps with the counterweight, like I just explained. So you have faster stuff. You don't have to do what I did, of course. You could put your counterweight down here, some washers that you fit over the fiberglass rod. If you put some washers over it, glue it in place, wrap it up, then, that can be a counterweight too. I just chose to put my counterweight right there because I used wire. Alright, so next up is how to actually build the weapons. First off, what you do is you get your fiberglass rod and you cut it in half. That's what we did. I'm saying on how I built it. Now, of course, this doesn't mean everything I'm saying is true and all that. Possibly in the beginning of the video I'll put with some text on the screen what I'm saying could possibly be wrong. I've seen a lot of Belegarth videos. I built this with someone who actually knows what they're doing, which they learned from someone who knew what they were doing. So for the most part it should be okay. We've used it. No one's got hurt from my weapon yet. And obviously if you're weaker, you can't handle as much pain, then the fighting can be a little bit more dangerous. Alright, so what you do is you take your fiberglass rod, if it's long, then you cut it in half to get this, just in half. I don't know the exact measurements, but whatever, so about 24 inches, I would say, if that's 24 inches, because from what I found, we used 48 inches, which half 48 is 24. You take that, and what we got it had on one end, it had a little tip, a little pointy tip. You want to cut that off. Cut that straight off, because that is very dangerous, and you don't want that, because you don't want to stab someone with anything, because that's not what the point of this is. And then what you do is you take it, cut it in half, score it up on the edges, and that's just to help the DAP glue stay on. So you'd score it up on the edges. You can do the whole thing if you want, because you won't be able to see all the rest anyway. Then what you do is we cut out about, I think, from one sheet did 3.5 kits. And the kits means for the foam how much we can build, because we did 7 foam per weapon, per foam omnibat or sword, and I'll get into another video on the different weapons like I said before and what type they are. So we did about, I'd say possibly 3 inches. Yeah, we did 3 inches of foam each. And when you get the foam, don't cut it straight down like this. Cut it horizontally. Or cut it vertically, but have it sit out horizontally. Then you cut each horizontal piece out. And we did 7 layers. And what you do is after you cut the foam into the pieces, you take as many pieces as you can. One side on each one, you put some DAP glue. So you'd have DAP glue on this side, and then you'd take another piece and do DAP glue on that side, and do that until you do it on 6 pieces. The 7th one you don't want to do right away because you need to put glue on each side. So then you let that sit for about 25-30 minutes for the big stuff. And then you take the 2 pieces that have glue on each side, put the glue to glue contact starting from top, work your way down slowly to the bottom. Make sure that it sits good and it's even and parallel to each other. Or I wouldn't say parallel, just make sure that it isn't crooked. Because if it's crooked, then you aren't building it correctly and that can mess up a little bit, depending how bad it is. And then when you get 2 pieces together, you do that again and again and again until you get 3 pieces on one side, 4 pieces on the other, because 3 plus 4 equals 7, for those of you who don't know that, because half the time I don't even know math, but that's okay. And so you get 3 pieces on one side, 7 pieces on the other. When you glue that, don't glue the 3 pieces and the 4 pieces together yet. What you want to do is cut how we get the fiberglass core in there, is to cut one down. So we cut from this one and we cut it down to this layer. You cut that out. You'd set this up on top of the foam all the way to the edge. You'd measure it out to where it sits. And it doesn't go all the way up because this is the tip. I'll tell you about the tip in a minute. And that will also be in another video on what the tip's used for. You set this here, measure it out to where it's going to go. It's going to go here. Measure that. You outline it. Cut out only one layer down that whole length. So that, and you want it snug. You don't want it to be too big. You want it to be able to pull the foam back and set this inside. And before you glue it, just make sure it sits there good. And then what you do is you take glue, or the DAP glue, glue up this after you score it. Well, you should have it scored already. And then you glue it, prop it up against something. Try not to let the glue touch your hands or any other material because it is a pain in the butt to get out. Let it sit for about 25 minutes. And then glue the inside of the piece that you cut out and let that sit for about 25 minutes too. You don't want to have a thing of glue, just like a pool of glue. You want it in there. And what can help too is if you glue the inside first, put this in, lay it in, spin it around inside, and then take it out, then let them both sit, because that can actually be a little bit faster than gluing the pole than this. Then after that's done, what you do is you open this, you put after 25 minutes, you put the core inside of the divot that you cut, and then pull it back. It's easier if you have more than one person help you on this, so try to get a friend if possible. Put it together, put it in, make sure it sits in fine. Squeeze the foam over the core so that the core stays in place. And this light's bothering me. And never mind. Alright, once you glue these together and put them together, or the handle, the core into the divot, and you have that glued together, then what you do is you glue the 3 pieces of the foam, the one that will be 3 thick, you glue both ends of that, and then you glue the other part of the 4 layer thick foam of the other foam. And then you let that sit for 25 minutes. Once that's done for 25 minutes, then you put the 4 layer over the 3 layer, or 3 layer over the 4 layer, it doesn't matter which way you put it. You put it over, you let them sit together, and you have to carefully put the layers over each other so that they don't get too out of place. Then after that, if you made it properly, this shouldn't come out. This one did because it wasn't made as good as I made mine, because my brother made it. So his could be made a little bit better, just needs glue. Or if you want to take the cheap route, put some hot glue in it, and then put a cover on. The cover I will come up to in a little bit. Alright. Alright. Well, alright, so then once you have both pieces on, what you want to do is, it's going to be blocky, okay? It's going to look, this is blocky, but what you want to do is on each corner, cut it on each corner so that you have it indented. It's a little bit harder to tell on mine. Well, it's a little bit easier to tell. So the divot is right here between the two. So it looks a little bit more rounded. This one also looks round, but you can see it has a little bit more squarish to it than mine does. And then you do the corners, and then you want to tape, if it looks like it's not good, or just to be sure that it's not just going to come apart, tape the bottom, the middle, and then the top. And then here's the next part, the tip. You can make a stab tip if you want to. The reason that you need a stab tip is so that you can stab. So you can actually stab someone with it. Otherwise, it is not a stab weapon, and you can only hit people, which will be in another video on how to play and the different weapons. And so for the stab tip, you take 2-3 layers of this foam that you have, if you have any left over. Take your sword, put it upside down, and then trace the outline on top of the foam. Cut it out a little bit over the black line, or whatever color line you're using to trace it. I usually trace in black. Put it on, make sure it's on there properly, then glue the 2 to 3 layers of foam. So you do one side of 2 pieces of foam. Let those sit, since it's smaller. I would say maybe 15-20 minutes, possibly 25. To make sure that the glue is good, you want to touch it. Make sure, it can't look wet. It has to look like it's dry, but it's going to be very sticky. So once you get it on, you can pull it off, but then it can ruin it and it'll take more time to build. Then what you do is you put the pieces on top, and then do the top and the top of 2 other pieces of the foam. If you're doing 3 layers, then you put the 3rd one on, then glue the bottom of, or glue one side of 2 or 3 layer thick foam, and then glue the top of your sword. Let those sit for about 15, 20, 25 minutes. Put that on top. Once it's on top, then what you do is you let it sit just for a little bit, and then you do the corners of the foam to make it where it sits. And then you do want to tape the tip down Well, you don't have to glue the tip. This tip isn't glued. I don't think my tip is glued either. It's taped. And it's lasted for like a month. This, and taping it will help it since it's a little bit more loose and it's not all one piece. I'm going to tape it in a plus sign and then tape it around a few times to make sure that it stays. And it's not wobbly. It sits pretty well. It's taped pretty well. And then what you do is, it's a little bit harder for the cover. Now you might see this here. This can come later. The pummel though. The pummel is just more foam. You just glue the foam and you wrap foam around here. Wrap it around. Mine's a little bit harder to tell, but what I did was wrapped it around the handle, the hilt of the sword, which is this thick piece, and then you glue that together, and then you glue the top of the pommel on. You get the same thickness. It doesn't have to be, I would say have a decent sized thickness, not this small, because this hurts a little bit more than this. Actually, this hurts a lot more than this, because this has more, not as much tension, and has more surface area than this, so. And then you tape it down with kinesio tape, duct tape, or you can glue it. And if you want, you can also put a cover on. I didn't put a cover on mine because I duct taped it, and I didn't have any more fabric because this was a group activity for a church that I go to. So we just met up, bought supplies, built weapons. This is one, mine's one, so. The cover is a little bit harder to do. What you want to do is take your sword, push it down on the cover, trace the outline, but don't do it like directly on the corner. Because what you want to do is put it a few inches away from a corner and trace around this, and then cut out a square away from the circle of your sword. Then what you do is you cut out from the circle around 2 to 3 inches away, cut that in a square on 2 to 3 inches on each side, and then you take your sword, put it on the edge of your fabric, roll up the fabric tight around it to where you have enough where you can stitch it together, so like a little bit of an overlap, and then like, I wouldn't say half an inch, maybe a third of an inch out of an overlap to make sure that it goes on. Then what you do is you unroll it after you cut it out, unroll it on the ground or whatever surface you're on, and you take the stab tip, which is the small square one, you put that on top with the black facing up, or I'm using black as the color, the black outline. You have that facing up, and that's on top of the sword cover. You stitch the sword cover on together, the tip and the cover, and as you're doing it, rotate the tip around, like follow the black circle, and that helps it turn so that it fits on your sword. Then what you do is you put it on where the black is still on top, the black line's still on top, put it over, put the pieces together, and then just make a stitch on all the way down. Now this isn't perfect, but for my first one ever made, honestly this isn't terrible for a first made weapon. And then what you do is you should have extra, I should have said that earlier, but when you do that, make sure you have extra hanging out so that it's not just ending directly here. I have mine around down to here. It's like a good inch or so away. Then what you do is you pull off the cover, flip it inside out, and then put it on. And then with the extra, you wrap it up like that. So how it sort of looks like it's wrapped. You wrap it together, tape it down. Then you can either tape it or I would suggest kinesio tape, or because it has a little bit more grip, or if you want, you can use paracord. And then the paracord, you just wrap around and around and around, and you go all the way down. And then you have a handle. Now, my paracord keeps getting messed up. I'm just living with it. It's a little bit weird when you have like a big ball so it goes over, but it's loose. You have to make it really tight. Normally what you want to do though is put duct tape down first, and then wrap your paracord around the duct tape so it sticks. Or you can put some glue down and then wrap the paracord around. Then, after you let it sit, put that on, your sword will come out. I know I don't have like a video directly on making a brand new one. This is the best I could do for you guys. And it comes out pretty cool. You can turn it a lot. And if you have the counterweight, you can hold it pretty decent and one-hand it. But one thing I do want to do though is make a double one where it's, instead of cutting it in half, you have it like this. I would cut off the thickness of one of these so that it's like two are connected. So it's not just like this. It's like this. And then when you're attacking, you go down, then you go up right away, or you go up then down. Or yeah. So that's pretty much it for that. Next video I will talk about, if I make another one, how to fight, the rules of the game, and the different weapons. And possibly some tips and tricks to help. But thank you for watching. I will try my best to edit this video as good as I can, because I don't edit too terribly much, just take out the parts I don't really need. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the support on my last video. I have seen that most of my viewers that watch are not subscribed, actually. And I would like you guys to please consider hitting that subscription button and hit that bell button so you get notified of all the videos that I upload for you guys to watch. I make these videos for my entertainment because I like making them, but I also make them for you guys to have a better day. I know that my videos aren't the best, but I try to do my best for you guys, for my viewers. And thank you for all 133 subscribers that are watching, or that are subbed. I could do another shout out video. I did one a while ago on all my subs, so that could be another one. Any video ideas? Put them down in the comments, and in the description I won't put this stuff, the materials, because everyone gets them differently. You can find it on Amazon. It's a little bit more expensive on Amazon, I will say. But you do you. I honestly would buy some of it off Amazon, but some of it can be super expensive, especially with shipping. So I would find your nearest store that has all the materials. I will have pictures of the things, hopefully, if I'm editing it good enough. And yeah, so thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you all next time.